just doesn't matter. We're just talking about what we're going to talk about. Like, we didn't even know.
Night it drifts as darkness falls. Tapestries move along the walls.
I kind of like we did it for the trip. We're talking about something totally different, and I kind of just bring it in to a certain spot, and then we just start going. Like, it's not even like, welcome, or whatever.
Have you ever seen Captain Corley's Man?
No. I know Penelope Cruz's tits.
Well, I mean, that wasn't the selling point. I was just asking if you've seen it because it's kind of...
Well, you directly mentioned that. No, I didn't want
I was trying to sell you on it
okay.
for that part. I was just saying, like, when I first saw the movie, I had no idea that she was going to be topless in the movie. I just saw it.
All right, and so, like, we'll do an intro and stuff like that. So, like, this part right now is when we're kicking it in.
Yeah.
Like, we'll do an intro. So, basically, what's going on at this point in history. This is Dirtbag History, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm D. This is Minivan. We call him Mini. I like that name better than Nick.
What, Mini?
Yeah.
Oh.
Than just Nick.
You know what's funny? I always laugh about it because, like, literally nobody knows me as Minivan.
Except for us.
Except for you guys. But I laugh about it because, like, it makes sense. Because when you think about it, in our league, we have, like, 3 Nicks. None of them go by Nick.
Right.
We got Snot, we got Slick, we got me. We have how many Georges? None of them go by George.
Right.
Like, so, like, it's with the theme. So
It helps break up the monotony of, like,
right, I'm good with it. Like,
unoriginal Greek names.
To me, I'm Nick or a whole entire group of people who don't really have any other Nicks. Not that Nick isn't a common name,
Right.
It is, but it's not, like, not everybody has that name. Like, outside of Greek people, I don't really know anybody who's named Nick.
Yeah, I feel like, what other fucking nationalities are Nicks?
Well, Nick is a common name in general. Like, even German, Klaus is from Nicholas.
Schwanz.
You know,
Klaus is from,
Klaus
like,
is-
Santa Claus?
Yeah, so
Like Saint Nick?
I actually didn't find that out until like a few years back, and it
I
kind of
love
blew my
Santa
mind because
Claus.
like I've always heard the name Klaus, and
Yeah.
it never clicked with me that Klaus.
Well,
is
think of this.
basically-
My name's Dimitri, but my, like, government slave name is James.
James. Yeah,
Because in Greek, somehow, James and
that I
Dimitri
never. I
is-
never.
me
understood
neither. I don't
that.
fucking
Dimitri
understand it
to
either.
James, I never got that. That
No
never
idea.
made sense to me.
Yeah, it does make no sense. I remember, like, they used to call people with, like, names Jimmy and James Daki, like, or Dimitri Daki, because it's
Dimitraki.
Dimitraki or Dzimaki.
Yeah, that's another one. That's like you're literally you're leaping from one to the other, and
I
just
don't get it.
Yeah, like, and then there's the most
And then
versatile.
James.
There's the most versatile Greek name, which is Kostadino, which you can literally get like 6 different names out of,
Yeah.
like Khan, Dino,
Gus.
Costa, Gus. Some people go by Constantine.
Fuck
really-
off. I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. So you're Mini, and I'm D.
Yeah, but I'm okay with that though. That's
I like that. That's like a cool name.
I'm good with
Mini.
it. That's fine. That's fine.
That's how you know we like you, because you have a nickname.
Yes. that's
If you
true.
don't have a nickname,
It's like, oh, that's just James over there. Fuck
yeah,
him.
you
Like,
should be worried. Like, you're on the hit list. kinda.
Right, yeah. You haven't been accepted to the inner circle.
Right.
Right, absolutely.
So this is Dirtbag History. I'm D. This is Mini. I'm glad we established the nicknames. We're talking about this one. This week's going to be talking about the Greek resistance during World War II. I got to bug up my ass about this because I've had relatives die in this.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Is it?
in Albania and in, like,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Peloponnesos and stuff.
Okay.
And also just because there's a lot of shit that when I was reading some of it, because I didn't read all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Full disclosure to everybody, I didn't read all of it. I've been going through a lot this week. I started a diet. I started doing yoga. I don't want to talk about it. I am a physical specimen. Let's move past that.
Your body's a temple.
Yeah. I'm going to be so skinny and hot, it's going to be crazy. Also, like, I had sex with a woman this week. I don't know why I'm whispering it.
It makes it more dramatic.
But we had sex, and it was not good sex.
It was not good.
No.
But
I'm not
sex
going to name her, obviously, because
No.
I have respect for women,
Sex
respect
is-
all women.
Sex is a little like pizza if you think about it, though. Like, even if it's bad, well, yeah, you still have pizza.
Bro, there's a problem in my brain, bro. I have a brain problem, dude. Okay, we'll get through this, and then we'll get to the Greek resistance, I swear to God.
Technically, this counts as part of the Greek resistance. But go,
Yeah,
carry on,
exactly.
please.
So, like, it was a spur-of-the-moment thing. It was somebody that I've known for a very long time. We've had sex before. It's been good. Quality sex. It's not like, I'm not going to fucking write her home and put it in a bottle and throw it into the water and hopefully somebody gets it on the other side.
Right, yeah.
But it's fun. Absolutely
Passable.
not more than passable. It's better than passable.
Above average.
This time was not that.
Okay.
And I did it spontaneously, and I did it because I like another girl. I can't believe I'm saying this on the podcast. I'm gonna like hear this.
I mean, you can edit it out.
Oh, I don't like being phony though.
Jickle?
So this other person I like, a female. Nothing wrong with liking males. But I don't. This other girl, she's like 35. She's like a full-blown woman. But so I like she's a tremendous. She's awesome.
Okay.
I haven't seen her in years either. Like,
Right.
I think we went on a couple dates like 5 or 6 years ago, right around the time I bought Bonnie's. So it's 5 or 6 years ago. 6 years ago. I'm ensorcelled, bro. She's the shit. Like, so we've been texting and stuff, and I literally spontaneously just did this deed with the other person to stop myself from texting this other girl.
Wow, that is...
Because I have a bad brain. My brain is broken.
That's not productive.
That's
at all.
weird, right?
Yeah, that is a little weird.
It's unhealthy, I feel like.
I mean, like, you could have done something else.
I could have done a tremendous amount of things. I could have started stamp collecting. I could have I don't know. I could have went for a walk.
You could have just stepped away from your phone.
I could have that also. I could have masturbated furiously, then cried after. There was like a litany of things I could have done.
Yeah, but how many times can you do that in a day, huh?
Yeah, I'm getting older too, so it's tougher. It gets tougher and tougher.
Okay, so
that's where I'm at brain-wise. It's broken. My brain's broken, bro. I have a broken brain.
Yeah, we all already knew that about you.
So I don't know why I said this just now. I'm gonna leave it in because it's ridiculous, and I am a ridiculous person.
You are.
But the bottom line, and I don't wish anybody ill will, especially like the girl that I fornicated with.
Well, I mean, I got a question. Is she on the same page in the sense of like, all right, like, listen, we're a little older now, so I guess it doesn't matter as much. But like,
I'm not saying names or anything.
No, I know that, but like, if they hear it, I'm pretty sure if the girl hears it, she's gonna know who you're referring to.
Oh, totally, yeah.
Right. Okay. So what I'm saying though is that like the girl that you did the deed with, is she gonna be under some sort of?
She gonna be mad at this?
Yeah.
No, because it's not like we're dating or like we've been talking.
But what I'm saying is like it's established that you guys aren't dating or anything like that. It's not a part of anything. Or is it? That's what I'm asking you.
No, it's not. We're not dating. I would never do that to somebody.
Okay, you might not.
I'm a good guy.
A lot of guys do that.
No. I wouldn't be talking about it either. But I still wouldn't do it. Right. I just can't.
One thing that I always harp on in any relationship, and I don't even mean sexual ones, just like any relationship at all, like platonic, sexual, is communication is so fucking important that it's amazing to me how not as many people get that. Like, it's so important.
It's hard to do, I think.
And it is because I guess a lot of people just kind of don't want to, have those difficult conversations, which I guess I do get. But, like, you're able to do so much more freely.
Sure.
And with so much less reservation, with so much less anxiety about things, to be able to, and to know kind of what your limits are through communication.
I'm with you.
Communication is so important.
I'm balls deep in communicating. I love it.
Right, yeah.
So
clearly you were. That's what led to this in the beginning because you were trying to communicate by texting her. And
I'm such a fucking weird kid, dude. It's so crazy. And I guess it was like, it wasn't like I really searched it out. It was relatively easy. Not saying she's easy, but like,
well, when you have a prior
the situation I was in, right? Like, it was just it was not hard to like go into it. And I thought like, it was spur of the moment. I thought like, oh, maybe my brain will stop being stupid for a little. Yeah. But then what happens is the sex isn't good, and it's like, oh man.
I got a question. I don't know if you want to answer.
And it's not even because usually the sex with that person is like good. It's like awesome, Like I mean, it's not freaky deaky kind of like
no,
put it in my ass stuff, but
yeah. For either of you.
Right? Yeah. I don't care. I'm fine with a finger in my ass. It's not a big deal.
No, what I was going to ask you though was like, do you blame her for it, or is it more because of you?
100% me.
100%.
Oh yeah, no. This is a blameless. Crime.
I kind of got that feeling that you were blaming you, but I wanted to.
I am the culprit. I'm without question. That's what I'm talking about. Is like I'm blaming myself. Okay. If I had any kind of ill will towards, I mean, I'll talk shit about people, but like usually not like people like in my personal life.
Right. Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, I don't know. This other girl is just like, she's fucking magic.
Which other girl? Are you referring to the girl that you like, or the girl
I like? Okay. I like the other girl too.
Okay.
But this one's like, she's sparkly and stuff. I like it.
She's sparkly. That's fun.
That's the best way I can possibly explain it. So anyway, back to Dirtbag history.
Thank you for that.
That segment of D's.
Thank you for that diatribe.
Yeah, that segment of D's. What do you call it? D's fucking. How do you call it? What do you call it when something's falling apart? Is there a word for it?
Falling apart.
Yeah, no, not that.
Unraveling?
I want a better word. Yeah, D's. I love it. D's unraveling fucking personal life. Brought to you by. Brought to you by.
Adults only.
Yeah,
Media.
Dominion Voting Systems.
Dominion. You saw that dude yesterday who went on what was it? Was it Newsweek? I forget what it is. He went on one of those
The
channels.
crazy ones, the crazy channels, Newsmax.
He went on one of them, and they wanted to ask him about I think Elon Musk, and he's like, "Oh yeah, people just go on TV and tell lies, like you know how you guys got sued about it." I can't remember who
shit!
it was. Yeah.
On the channel?
Yeah, on the channel, and the guy's like, I didn't bring you on for that. He's like, okay, and he's basically just like kind of I forgot the name of the Newsweek, News something.
It might be Newsmax.
Maybe
Newsmax is one of those channels.
One of those channels
like
that got they actually got sued
Newsmax.
for it.
Then.
Okay, so all right, so there you go.
Okay, so it's Dirtbag History, episode 1. I promise I won't go into like weird shit like that again. I can't promise that. I'll never promise that.
I'm doing well, by the way. Just if anybody's wondering.
Your personal life's good?
Yeah,
mine's bad, bro.
I mean,
can't be a human being. I can't do it. It's so hard sometimes.
It's cool. I'm just living life.
Anyway,
day by day.
The Greek resistance in World War II.
The Greek resistance. We not brought to you by.
Brought to you by Dominion Voting.
Yes.
So listen, what I wanted to do, the intro is like setting the stage, setting the plate, where we're at. It's 1941 April. The dirtbag sauce monkeys in Italy came, tried to invade us. They gave us an ultimatum, right? And that was the big day, the Occhi Day thing. We said, no, fuck off. Go make your fucking pasta somewhere else. And they ended up invading. We ended up smacking them around.
Then they were invading from Albania.
And then we went into Albania and we took pieces of Albania. Then they call up their brothers, the Nazis.
The Nazis.
Hitler's crew, Uncle Adolf. And Uncle Adolf came and they ended up occupying Greece. We put up a decent fight, but it ended up they occupied Greece.
Okay, so
that's the fortune cookie fucking version, quick version. Go ahead.
That's a very quick version.
Give me the details.
I mean, you didn't miss anything. You're completely right. Italy decided to invade through Albania. They faced a lot of resistance from the Greeks, so much so that they actually got pushed back. And then Germany was called to take over. And Germany's army, at the time, it's definitely worth mentioning, Germany was just steamrolling Europe at the time.
Yeah, Blitzkrieg.
Just everybody was getting just curb stomped.
They were on chocolate meth.
Literally, like
Pervitin.
I'd save this somewhere. I'll find it on my phone later. But I was seeing the amount of days that basically any resistance stood up to Germany up until they got to the Greeks. And like, I want to say that the longest one was like barely 2 months.
Yeah, I think France.
And they were just rolling through
France
places.
fell in like 3 weeks.
I'm surprised France actually went through 3 weeks, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they had that stupid thing, the Maginot Line, which was like a static. There was like a ton of static fucking like artillery pieces, basically, that would defend their one border. But they ended up going the other way with the tanks, and they just fucking rammed through nonstop on meth, fucking and sucking, and end up taking over.
Yes.
Also, you have the Battle of Crete, which is a totally different thing, where Germans basically, it was like the first ever paratrooper raid.
They literally tried to do an entire raid through paratroopers.
And like they've quickly found out, like many of us Greeks know. I don't know, are you Cretan?
I'm not Cretan.
So like they're island monkeys. They're savages down there. No offense. I mean a little offense because I love you. And
Beautiful island.
Yeah, a lot of my friends are Cretans.
I've been to Crete. Very nice island.
They're savages. Also, listen, so are we. Like the ones in the mainland too. Like I was reading a dissertation from this fucking dude who's doing his thesis about this. I gotta mention this because it's interesting. The thing with Greece back then, there was like almost no paved roads really, like compared to like other European cities.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was like super factional, super like, because if you don't have roads to get to places, you're not going to go cross mountain ranges to go see your neighboring village that's 60 miles away, right? You're never going to know who these people are. So everyone's like separate and like they have their own tribes and shit. Very similar to how Afghanistan is now.
Yeah, right. It was, listen, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm not sure who would be listening to this, but Greece is known a lot for their views, beaches and stuff like that. Greece has a ton of mountains, and a lot of them, and people don't necessarily realize them. But then when you sort of think about it, and you see some of these views in Greece, and it's like, oh, look at, you're overlooking that ocean, you're overlooking this ocean. All those pictures are taken from mountains. Like, where do you think they're taken from?
Right.
Greece is literally all mountains and beaches. That's all Greece.
I mean,
is.
that's probably what helped like foster
Oh,
their
100%.
guerrillas and the resistance
100%.
and stuff. Because like
it made just navigating the country, especially then with no roads,
right,
just impossible at times. Like, and keep in mind that it's one thing to be walking through these things, another thing to be trying to go through with tanks and jeeps and like where are you driving this tank? Where's this supposed to go? There's no roads.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean that's the other thing about Greece. So like even at the time that you're talking about in Crete, you know, everybody's village, everybody's town was theirs. There wasn't a lot of, you know, overlap.
Right.
In the sense of, you know, like all right, like now you have people neighboring towns. Like me and you live in technically different neighborhoods, but you know whatever, we see each other.
Sure.
There was nothing like that.
No,
there wasn't.
You go your whole life not seeing people
Right, exactly.
Your
For some people who were
town.
10, 15 minutes away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a battle of Crete. I mean, we'll get a little more into that too, obviously. I think one of my biggest takeaways from just in general is that ultimately you would argue that the Greeks lost.
Sure.
They did, but there was so much in that loss that even to this day people still talk about, you know, the Greeks and their resistance, because it's not a win in the war.
No.
They didn't win their battle. Obviously, they lost. You know, Germany occupied Greece for a time. I mean, obviously, you say your family played into it. My grandmother's house had Nazis living in it.
That's crazy.
She had Nazis living in the house.
Yeah.
They were occupied. And my grandmother, she grew up in Evia, which is, I'll show you here, right up there.
Okay, so like all north of Athens.
North of Athens. So the funny thing about Evia is, a lot of people don't know this. Well, Greek people do, but Greek Americans do not know this. Do you know what the second biggest island in Greece is?
After Crete?
After Crete. Obviously, Crete's the first, of course. Peloponnesos is connected, so it's not Peloponnesos.
It's not Lesbos, is it?
No.
Or is it that one? Because it's huge.
Which one?
The one that you just pointed at.
Evia. And the funny thing is, people don't even realize.
Well, they don't think of it because it's so close to
It's
mainland.
so close to mainland Greece, you get there by a bridge.
Yeah, all
But
right.
it's literally an island.
That makes sense.
Right. So, but the thing is that they were, my grandma's all on the other side. So basically, like, it goes to show you how far Germany went to occupy all of Greece.
Yeah.
You know, because my grandmother, I want to say she was about 15, 16, 17 during the time.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was born in late 20s. So, you know, we're talking early mid-40s. So, yeah, she was about 15, 16 at the time. And my grandmother's father my grandmother never met her father, actually. He was a store owner in America. He went to Greece, met his wife, got her pregnant. They got married. He got her pregnant, and then he left and came back to America.
They better have gotten married first.
Of course. She was pregnant, and he came back to America with the plan to bring them over. Well, my grandfather owned a store, and then one day 2 people came in to rob him and shot him dead. And
Oof.
that's how my grandfather died. So my grandma was basically just with her mother. She didn't have any other siblings, which is the 2 of them in the house. And yeah, I mean, they had German soldiers who occupied.
That's fucking
their home.
wild. That's crazy.
Like, we think about that now, and like I think how crazy having war just in your country. I think alone is just a crazy.
Yeah,
thing.
like as Americans, we're kind of like disconnected from that.
We really haven't had a war on our soil since the birth of our nation. Basically.
Yeah,
and Civil War, obviously, right?
Yeah,
but like a foreign war, like
no.
We've never had a foreign war in America.
Bro, imagine right now. Let's say China came in
because I'm just invades from like Florida.
Yeah, I'm saying China just because like they're
another superpower.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah,
like they came in and invaded. Like what? We're just gonna like people are gonna be resistance fighters. Like it's gonna happen, right? You don't want fucking somebody else coming into your house.
Of course.
Also, that's why like I kind of understand like the beef that like Afghanistan has and like Iraq has.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I get, yeah.
Because think about Iraq, right? Like, listen, okay, Saddam Hussein's a bad guy. Those guys trying to kill our soldiers automatically become bad guys, and they need to go. But you need to understand their thought process, right? Their thought process is, I was a Ba'ath Party soldier getting paid a certain amount of money. Like, I had a job, government job. They're probably not rich, obviously, but whatever. They have a job, and they're getting paid, providing for a family. The USA comes in, takes over the country in a month. And what they end up doing, the USA, is disbanding the entire military in the Ba'ath Party. And now you have 500,000 guys with AK-47s that do not have a job to go to, do not have a paycheck.
Right. Yeah.
And now they have these other guys who they're obviously complete fucking foreigners that are just taking over your land. Like, what's going to happen?
Like we're here to liberate you.
Yeah,
like,
it's not going to show
drop
some
your
kind
weapons,
of fucking
yeah.
anger.
Yeah,
Of course
right,
it
yeah.
is.
No, I get it. I understand. It's not as black and white as people try to make it.
Of course.
Like, the warning, like,
Yeah.
oh, support the troops, or warning, like, whatever. Like, there's there's layers to it.
Right.
There's context to everything in life.
So to set the stage a little bit more, 1941, the Allies come in. We smack them about. They ask for their big brother Germany. They come in, and Germany also ally with Bulgaria. Bulgaria comes in the war. People like to forget about Bulgaria. I never forget Bulgaria. Okay, those fucking scumbags. So they come in and they end up taking over Greece. They put in the Greek government. Fucks off to Egypt. They're in exile, like the government that was running shit.
Right, that's right.
Which is King George II, right?
Just to point out that government that they were in Crete first, and then dipped out to Egypt.
So they first jumped to Crete.
And then they jumped to Crete, and then as Crete started falling, the Battle of Crete, when they bailed and tried to call the shots.
And so the Germans and the Italian, like the Axis, basically put up like a puppet government, right?
Right.
Headed by General Georgios I don't know how to say that in Greek.
Which one?
Sokolada. Right there.
Solakoglu.
Yeah. So he was a dirtbag guy hanging about with the Nazis playing the role. I mean, listen, I get it. I mean, if you're enterprising enough, I'm sure it's probably, if you're like a political climber.
I mean, yeah. Listen, he was just trying to take the winning side. I guess
right.
It was his plan. So
So people snapped out, and like obviously, who gives a fuck about Greece, right? It's a little country at that time, 8.5 million people, largely underdeveloped, largely fractured and stuff like that.
Yeah,
largely
they weren't a very united front.
Yeah, fighting with each other. Because if you notice anything by the Greeks, like the last 200 years to be specific, it's a lot of civil war.
Yes.
So, what's the reason? Why fucking go after Greece? It's because the German war machine needed oil. The oil was in Libya and Northern Africa and the Middle East, and it was a huge supply line for the Mediterranean.
Greece would become a very, very big hub for them.
So logistically, it was a huge...
Go from Crete.
People don't think about it logistics, bro. Yeah. Logistics is serious, bro.
No, absolutely.
It's serious business,
absolutely,
logistics. Don't hate on logistics.
There was definitely value in taking over Greece for the Germans. Now, the one thing I think that's worth pointing out, though, that it wasn't, like an overnight kind of like, the Germans are here, we'll take over Greece. No
sure.
Like, it was a tooth and nail battle with the Greeks because, like you said before, like, people not rolling down. The Greeks did not lay down for anybody. Like,
sure.
They suffered a lot of losses. Like, I remember, I'll find the actual stat that I had found because I thought that was pretty crazy. But here we go. Total losses in population percentages from everybody. So we're going to get to the impact on, Soviet Union or whatever, how they came into play at the end of this war. But Soviet Union lost a lot of people. Soviet
Union lost the most people.
They did. However, do you know what percentage of people of the Soviet Union died in the war?
I mean, it's got to be, what they have, like 20 million?
Something like that, yeah.
They probably at that point had like 100 million, 20%.
Not even close. 2.8%.
How much was their total? Oh, because Soviet Union was bigger.
It was bigger, yeah. So it was 2.8% of people. The Netherlands lost 2.2%. France lost 2%. Poland 1.8%. Yugoslavia 1.7%. Belgium 1.5%. You know what percentage of Greeks were killed?
Greeks, a lot.
10%.
Yeah, that's a lot of quiche.
That's a lot. And 10% of a country that did not have that many people in it.
Yeah, it was like 8.5 million.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe. Because now I think Greece is like 10 million-ish.
Yeah, it's like 10.4. 10.
Yeah, so like at the time, you probably looked
at... No, I read it was 8 and change.
It was 8 and change?
Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah. So the Greeks lost all... Because, well, everybody else was basically, I don't say rolling over, but kind of realized they were kind of out, overpowered. The Greeks were like, yeah, we might be overpowered, but, they're not going to lay down for you.
Right, they keep doing it. I mean, listen, a ton of fucking people died. Like the Soviet Union just literally threw, like, human suffering at the Nazis, and they ended up winning.
Right.
That's literally how they won. It's just like, here's a ton of human suffering.
I'm not going to lie to you. At some point, I kind of respect it. Like, it sounds terrible.
It's crazy.
But like, the thing is like, all right, the Soviets' logic at that point is basically, listen, people are going to die anyway. Right. Like, we're not saving everybody here. Like, what other plan do we have? We're going to try and save every life. Listen, when war comes around, you're not going to save every life. Right. It sucks. It's why war is so terrible. But people are going to die. That is inevitable about war. So the Soviets were just like, yeah, all right, this is what we're willing to sacrifice. And,
Yeah.
And it's kind of how they Basically.
Well, I mean, listen, you needed to fight crazy with crazy, right?
Absolutely,
and like Hitler
yeah.
was obviously crazy. Stalin was obviously just as crazy as Hitler, bro.
He
Like,
was,
you know,
yeah.
not even because he was a commie, but just because like what he did to like become powerful
Oh,
and
yeah.
end up like
Well, that's
holding power and securing power. He fucking killed tens
That's
of
the
millions
thing.
of people.
If you knew what Stalin did to get into power, you had to be like realistic about knowing like what he's gonna do to keep that power.
Sure,
Like,
yeah, he's gonna
like
do
I
whatever.
killed 10 million people just to become. You think I'm not gonna sacrifice?
Yeah,
another
you
10?
think I'm
Like, I
not
don't-
against
I don't fucking care. Like,
throwing another 30 million into
Right,
the
yeah,
meat
exactly.
grinder? No, I'm not.
So, yeah,
I'm fucking 5'2", and you know it is what it is, bro.
Right, yeah.
You think that stopped me? No, I'm a fucking dictator of a huge country. I'll kill another 40 million
Right, like,
motherfuckers.
I'm an evil dictator. What am I gonna do? Evil dictator shit. I am not gonna be here and be a philanthropist.
Right, yeah.
Go
no.
somewhere else with that. That's honestly that's why I don't understand why some people are like so like, oh, I can't believe like, you know, Kim Jong is like, yo, he's a dictator. What do you think he's gonna do? And I'm not saying it's okay. It's horrible, but that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but like Kim Jong Un too. Like if people think like there's ever a way, like a path to negotiate with him to like denuclearize, that's literally the only reason he's still in power is because they're nuclear power.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
That's it. Because if they weren't a nuclear power and they weren't anywhere close, like more than likely, like there would be a lot more ways to, you know, I'm not saying total war, but like like overthrow them, do, you know, sabotage acts, stuff like that, fuck with them in different ways.
Right.
But just because now he's a fucking crazy guy with a big ass gun beating a nuclear weapon, that changes the fucking game, you know, tenfold. That and he will never get rid of that. Never get rid of that leverage point, you know.
Right.
Oh god.
We're not gonna edit that one out.
No, that's staying in.
That was a good one.
Honestly, I feel like besides my mental breakdown in the beginning, I think everything's gonna stay in. I feel like.
Why, you gonna cut that part out?
I'm mulling it. Probably not.
Listen,
I don't know.
do whatever you want.
I didn't name names or anything.
He named names.
So, and whatever. It's just the truth, you know. I can just be myself, baby.
Be yourself.
So, Greeks aren't happy, obviously. You know, we got krauts in our fucking neighborhoods, and we're not interested in that. So
we didn't invite them.
No. So, like, there was, like, a couple of big, like, sabotage events. Also, the people that were involved that weren't, like, you know, technically weren't involved, but weren't actually involved were the British Intelligence Service, the SOE, which I keep forgetting the acronym is Special Operations Executive. It's such a weird fucking name. Special Operations Executive, which is the precursor basically to MI5 and MI6. They're legit intelligence.
Right.
So, and also with the OSS, the OSS was the precursor to the CIA. Those guys were working up against the German supply lines and stuff like that. They actually blew up a huge bridge in Greece. That was like a major blow to like German like logistics wise, and it was like a big blow to them in terms of like supplying and resupplying and stuff like that. So I'm trying to remember what the fucking bridge is called. It's a huge one, bro. It's like so important. Fuck. See, this is what happens when you don't do research.
Is it Golden Gate Bridge?
Oh, no, it wasn't a bridge. It was the Asposos Viaduct. I don't know what the fuck a viaduct is, do you?
Let me see that. Go back down. Is that a train line?
Maybe, yeah. It was a supply line of some sort. Hold on. I'll erase this part. Come on, bitch.
See, this is the good part. We can definitely edit this.
Yeah, this we can go.
But you know what? It's good, though, because it gives us a little more freedom to, like, talk about things and hone in on things, too.
All right, so Proxy support and sabotage campaign. In accordance with its strategy of peripheral attacks and subversive activity, in addition to its long-standing alliance with Greece, Britain allowed forces and equipment to support Greek resistance in the late 1942. Gotta read. Specifically, the British sought to use the Greek guerrillas to impede the flow of logistics. Come on, bro. Logistics, bro. You think they're fucking around at UPS? No, they're not. Flow of logistics from Greece to Germany, Africa Corps, and under the command of Erwin Rommel, who was like the big dick swinging general in the Nazis down in North Africa before the boys showed up and started smacking them around.
Yes.
With the Brits. The British needed Rommel's supply line to be cut so they could effectively counterattack. Due to the commitments elsewhere, general manpower shortage, and concerns about the ability to mount an overt offensive to retake Greece, the British opted to infiltrate commandos to support and advise the Greek resistance. During the period of darkness between September 30th and October 1st, 1942, the British attempted to parachute 12 British commandos, 9 officers, and 3 enlisted soldiers into occupied Greece. The infiltration was a calamity. Of course, not all of them are going to work. None of the planes found their mark. That's a bummer. The first group of commandos parachuted over a set of fires that they assumed were their signal. The fires turned out to be fires to warn local shepherds and no correlation with the resistance. See, that's also a big problem with Greece, right? Because it was so underdeveloped and no roads really. Like, one guy didn't know what the fucking other guy was. There was no, like, real deal coordination. The second group parachuted into a field and met a member of the Greek resistance who had expected a supply drop. He was surprised and unsure what to do with the commandos. The last group was unable to find any signals and returned home. When they attempted to infiltrate a month later, they again could not find their link-up signal. That's brutal. What the fuck are they doing over there? I mean, it's hard, I guess, right?
It's hard, man. The technology is so limited at the time, too. Like,
they decided to, I know, right? And it's like, how do you even communicate?
No, it's like, you just text me.
Literally, how are you communicating? Like, we're going to, set a fire, we'll be there. Like, what?
Well, that's one of the things. So the Battle of Crete was big, but one of the ways they were able to kind of fight back is the British figured out a way to hack the Germans' communications.
Oh, so check this out. That was awesome.
That's big because the Greeks were basically prepared for what was going to happen in Crete.
So the next attempt, they decided to blind jump in to the vicinity of where they wanted to link up. They accidentally landed near an Italian garrison and were forced to immediately evade mortar and small arms fire. Despite their inauspicious entry into Greece, none of the British advisors were hurt, and they linked up with both the Greek resistance and each other within the month of infiltration. So think about it. These fucking maniacs are there by themselves for a fucking month fighting off like Italian fucking mustache twirlies, fucking sauce monkeys, mortars and small arms fire, and then they finally find the Greek resistance guys. Like, the Greek guys are probably like smoking cigarettes like, where the fuck you guys been, bro? We've been sitting here waiting. That is fucking crazy, dude. I can't, bro, I'm a pussy. I'm a pan-fried pussy, bro. I couldn't even imagine doing this. So, the principal mission for the British commandos was to destroy any of the 3 bridges that supported north-south rail line through Greece. The rail line was a primary resupply route for Rommel's Africa Corps. At the time, 80% of the logistics to Rommel flowed along this route. So that's fucking crazy. That's 80% of the shit went through Greece.
Yeah.
From depots in Eastern Europe, Rommel supplies moved along the Greek railroad to Athena, Piraeus, where I was at Piraeus once when I went to Mykonos. We got out of a boat and went to Mykonos and did Mali.
It looked a little different then. But
sure, oh yeah. When they were loaded on the boats and sent to Crete from Crete, supplies were shuttled nightly to Rommel's forces in Egypt, who were in active offensive against the British 8th Army. So this is like, we're talking real deal shit over here.
Yeah.
After reconnaissance of the 3 bridges, the British commander, Colonel E.C.W. Myers, selected the northernmost bridge as the ideal target for sabotage, referred to as, what the fuck, Gorgopotamus? Viaduct. It was the most accessible of the 3, and the Italian garrison that defended it seemed incompetent. I just like how that reads. The garrison, with an outpost at either end of the viaduct, numbered approximately 80 men. Within a month, Colonel Myers, along with several guerrilla leaders, including Colonel Zedvas, developed a plan to demolish the viaduct. Approximately 150 Greek guerrillas would destroy the Italian outposts guarding each end of the viaduct, and the British commandos would set the charges and demolish it. On the night of November 25th, what's that, Thanksgiving? 1942, a combined Greek and British contingent moved into position around the Gorgopotamus. Colonel Myers set up a temporary command and control center at the base of the viaduct and waited. Approximately 11:15 p.m., Greek guerrillas began their diversionary assaults on the Italian outposts at either end of the bridge. An hour later, after committing his guerrilla reserves to support heavy fighting on the northern end of the bridge, Myers ordered the saboteurs to move in and place their charges. The demolition party laid their charges quickly and signaled to take cover. And they blew that motherfucker up.
That's it.
Bingo bango. So let's see how Myers ordered another set of charges to the bridge. I hate just reading.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't just put on... Like, you could put excerpts of it.
The combined guerrilla force suffered no serious injuries.
The logistics word's coming up again, though.
Hell yeah. Where?
Right there at the bottom, the last line.
Hell yeah. Okay, let me restart it. Where is it? The combined guerrilla force suffered no serious injuries in the destruction of the Gorgopotamus. Conversely, the Italians suffered 20 to 30 soldiers killed, and all rail logistics traveling through Greece were halted for 6 weeks. Huge! Huge! Again, back to my point. Logistics, super important.
Very important.
You guys think it's a fucking joke? It's not a fucking joke.
Yeah, so, I mean, guerrilla warfare in general was big for the Greeks throughout this whole thing, because...
That's all they had.
Yeah, that's really all they had. They couldn't, you know... They couldn't go toe-to-toe with these armies. Like, the Italian army, whatever, they didn't care about it. But they couldn't go toe-to-toe with
Yeah, I mean, listen, bro. Germany, like, you know, everyone thinks of World War II as like...
Germany literally went into World War II. You know, their whole plan was to take over the world. Like,
right.
There's actually, like, I've seen this on, like, history shows, that, like, when they were going into bunkers after the fall of Berlin and everything, you know, the U.S. is still going into bunkers, and they were finding maps with Nazi flags on the U.S. Like,
right.
If they managed to get through Europe and get through the Soviet Union.
Yeah, I mean, but this guy Hitler, he's a
he
dumb
wanted to take over the world.
I know, but bro, what are you doing? You're gonna go fight up against fucking the Brits. You're gonna fight up against fucking all these people at the same time. It's just dumb.
You know what? The thing. I agree. Well, I mean, we say it now, but look, you know, the way things were going, at one point it looked like it was gonna happen, because the other thing is that, all right, yes, everybody has armies, but like their argument was, okay, well, I don't think most of these armies are really going to stand up to us. And listen, like I said, with that time frame, they weren't getting. Oh, I have the actual days of resistance.
Hit it.
Like, okay, Denmark 0, Luxembourg 0, Czechoslovakia 0, 0 days of resistance.
Yeah, but you don't think there was any kind of like resistance?
There was. All right, Yugoslavia 3 days, Netherlands 4 days.
So this is before the country fell, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
This is the between the amount of time of their invasion and basically like,
okay,
all right, we surrender. Netherlands 4 days, Belgium 18 days, so it took them 2.5 weeks. Poland 30 days, which is surprising because I'm pretty sure I thought Poland fell quicker than that. But Poland,
I mean, 30 days is fast.
It is fast, but you also got to keep in mind that they're close to Poland too. So them being able to just get in there and get more troops is even.
Yeah, but Poland was it's a big country.
It is. But 30 days. France 43 days, which is impressive. I'm surprised. Good for you, France. You really stuck it out. Norway 61 days.
Yeah, I seen a movie about the Norwegian one.
The Greek one, I'm gonna pocket it for now. We'll go.
Why? How many days?
Well, I'll pocket
Just
it.
say it.
The Greek resistance lasted 219 days.
Yeah. So that's from
from basically when they got invaded.
The Italians started.
I would guess it's from when the Germans.
Yeah, like the resistance I'm talking about. I'm thinking when I think about resistance, what I think about is not like the war between the two big armies of each country. I'm thinking like the resistance in Greece was 5 years, as long as like Germans occupied the country. Yeah. That's the resistance I think about.
Yeah.
So like all these countries definitely had some kind of resistance network where like they did sabotage and they fucked with.
Yeah, everybody was doing like,
and like they were all supported by
people. And
supported by the OSS, blowing up bridges and shit like that.
Right.
Not the OSS, the OSE, the fucking the Brits.
But so I mean, basically, everything had kind of shifted down. Germany is basically just kind of driving their way down, and you know the biggest hang up basically became Crete.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of where the Germans decided that their best plan of attack was paratroopers.
Crazy.
So they were just basically
like that's crazy too, right? Because it's not like it wasn't like, oh, this is like a tried and tested fucking military move.
Right? Yeah,
it was the first ever paratrooper invasion, like ever.
Right. And they went to the island that's like, if you're not Greek, so you can understand what Crete is. Crete is basically like the deep Republican South. And I don't mean that in a political view, but just like they're very, very pro-gun.
Yeah, they're crazy.
They're very, very, defend my land.
They're fucking lunatic. I mean, listen.
Don't tread on me. Like,
you know what it is with them? I think because it's kind of with those folks, it's transcended still. Like, it still kind of has
Absolutely.
that,
Oh, it's still that way. Yeah,
that
absolutely.
kind of culture.
Absolutely.
Because I'm sure, like, 80 years ago, almost everywhere in Greece was probably, like, goat herders who were like, if you stole my goat, I'll cut your fucking throat.
Right, yeah. There's just less goats now. But yeah, right.
So,
yeah.
like, I think it's just...
It's always been a part
that
of
culture
their,
is very...
Yes, it's always been a part of their culture. It's very, very... like, it's always been a part of just their shtick kind of thing. Like, they're very, very proud, which...
Mm-hmm.
I'm not judging them. I respect the shit out of them for it. That's their thing.
Some of my closest friends are Cretans.
Right, yeah. So, for them, it's like, what was the point of pride? And, like, these Germans are trying to basically take our land. So, basically what they did is, paratroopers, I'm sure most people know what paratroopers are, but they basically parachute into the war zone. How terrible of an idea is it to parachute into a war zone where people are armed? Like, think about it.
Yeah, but they weren't armed like they are now.
No, I understand that, but a majority of those people were probably more armed than the average citizen.
How long did it take for Crete to fall?
I don't know. You have to look that up. But Battle of Crete, there you go. How long did it last?
13 days.
13 days. But, like, they're literally just parachuting.
And supposedly, like the whole, like, there were UK troops, New Zealand troops, and
Australia. Right, but so that's the other thing I was going to tell you. A lot of the people that were on the front lines weren't necessarily citizens. I know the New Zealand troops played a major role into it too, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Like, New Zealand's like really far off the beaten path from
it's fucking Australia too.
Central Europe and like.
Well, they're part of the Commonwealth, so.
Right. Yeah, and I get that, but so they were basically like
crazy
picking people off coming in parachutes.
Yeah,
they're getting, and I had seen something like they're getting shot at through like, these air cannons and stuff like that, and like these planes are getting blown up, and a lot of them basically kind of held off at least long enough to get the people off the island, off Crete, and to get them to Egypt.
The people, like the head of the government.
Right, the government heads, they defended them enough to get them off Egypt. So,
Bro, I mean, look at this. Just look at this. The Luftwaffe, the German Air Force, which I think is probably the reason why they were so successful, is just because they kind of had free reign all over Europe, besides, like, Britain.
Right.
They lost 284 aircraft.
That's a lot of planes,
125 damaged.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
That's a lot of planes to lose.
And, like, think of this. The Royal Air Force had 12 aircraft shot down and 12 aircraft destroyed on the ground. So you're talking, like, the numbers eclipse one another. Like, even though, like, the personnel numbers were very similar, like, Greek versus,
Right, yeah.
The Greece, UK, New Zealand, Australia, like, their crew and, like, the fucking Krauts and the Italians were pretty close in terms of numbers of people. Just the fact that you have the fucking Air Force, that's such a big Air Force.
Of course.
You're instantly at a fucking disadvantage.
Yeah. So, from that point on, eventually Germany does take over Greece. And they occupy Greece. But a lot of people will tell you, at least historically, that Greece's victory, I shouldn't say victory, but Greece's resistance was so big to basically the rest of the path of the war in general, World War II, because even Russians will tell you, the Soviets I should say, I remember there was one quote by a Soviet general. He was talking about how important basically the Greek war was, the Greek resistance was. So this general had said basically, if the Russian people managed to raise resistance at the doors of Moscow to halt and reverse the German torrent, they owe it to the Greek people, who delayed the German divisions during the time they could bring us to our knees. And like essentially what's happening there is like, Russia knows that if they get invaded by a certain time, there's really nothing. There wasn't anything for them to be able to do.
Yeah, they needed time to like mobilize.
They needed time to mobilize. They needed time to get things together, and it's kind of similar to the Battle of Thermopylae, the 300, the Spartan 300. They lost the fight. It's documented. They lost. Like now they argue about what the numbers were, but what had happened was when the Spartans had fought and delayed them for so long, it literally gave all of Greece an opportunity to mobilize. Because Xerxes, as he tried to march through Greece, really didn't like that part of the war really stuck out because it gave the rest of Greece time to prepare. They weren't caught blindsided. They were all prepared for the armies and stuff like that. So from that point on, the rest of Greece wasn't prepared to face him. Whereas the Spartans, they just showed up because the Spartans always show up ready for war, but they just showed up ready to battle. And the Greeks, at least logistically, were smart to put them into that little narrow pathway that kind of made it a little tougher for them to travel and stuff like that. And they knew that the numbers didn't count for as much.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of helped out the rest of them. So they basically sacrificed themselves for the rest of it. But with the Greeks, I mean, essentially what had happened was they had delayed Germany for so long that their march into Moscow, or I should say into the Soviet Union, was
and like towards
pushed,
Stalingrad.
Yeah, was pushed back so much further than what they had planned.
Uh-huh.
Like this, if you ever read like comments about the Greeks during World War II, like everything that they talk about and stuff like that, like there's a lot of I think even Hitler had a comment where he basically said for the sake of historical truth, I must verify that only the Greeks, of all the adversaries who confronted us, fought with bold courage and highest disregard of death.
I don't know if that's smarter.
I mean, no, ultimately it helped. And even Stalin, I think on his deathbed, basically, or right before he died, said, "I'm sorry because I'm getting old, and I shall not live long to thank the Greek people whose resistance decided World War II." So, I mean, here's Stalin, who basically... I actually saw a video the other day. A lot of people don't really know the level of the Soviet Union's involvement in World War II, or like how...
Yeah, it's kind of fucking crazy.
It is crazy. It's kind of... I don't want to say it's whitewashed, because...
it's whatever you want to call it. It's capitalist wash or whatever.
It's definitely red, white, and blue wash, in the sense of like, oh, we won the war. Like, I always remember that concept, too, growing up. Like, oh, the Americans basically saved World War II. We stormed Normandy, and we won the war. Like, one and the other. And then we dropped the bomb on Hiroshima, and we won the war. That's really not... Listen, the USA played a role, obviously. Of course, they contributed. But... the Soviet Union played a major role in winning that war. Like, and the fact that Stalin is basically saying, like, we only won because of what the Greeks were able to do, it says a lot about how important their resistance was.
I feel like that's like, I don't know, bro. That sounds like such Greek propaganda, though. Like,
what, that Stalin said that?
Yeah, or like Hitler. Like, I feel like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not trying to take away anything from the Greek resistance. It's obviously a huge thing, and it's great. But, there was so many, like...
What about Churchill's comment?
I'm just saying, like,
no. I'm asking your opinion on it. What about Churchill's comment?
I don't know what it is, but like
Churchill's famous comment about the Greeks.
No.
He basically says, like, we won't say the Greeks fought like heroes.
Okay.
We'll say that heroes fought like the Greeks.
I get it, baby. Listen, like, they fucking rocked and rolled and respect, and I love it. I am Greek. I get it. But, like, there's fucking, like you said, Soviet Union. Like, if they didn't fucking step up, not even step up, because they got attacked. Like, if they didn't fucking get into it, Europe would have been a fucking disaster. Like, that's why I was saying before, like, Hitler's a fucking dunce cap, because they even said, we should not be attacking the Soviet Union right now. Let's continue our fucking takeover of Europe, and then we hit that when we can,
Yeah.
And, again, there was... you have to assume there were resistances in every country that were being occupied, because that's just the nature of human beings.
Right. But
people aren't interested in somebody else coming in and telling them what to fucking do, especially when you're not from around here.
I understand that part. I'm not disagreeing with you. What I'm saying, though, is that I don't think it's really propaganda in this sense, because, like, think about it. What incentives do these people have to say these things? Unless you're implying that these same things weren't really said.
No, I'm sure they were said, but I'm sure, like, there's deeper context. Like, in the Churchill, like, is he talking about the, like, other resistances too and stuff like that? But what I think what happens is a lot of times, like, Greeks specifically.
Oh no, we absolutely do. You're right.
We pick and choose stuff to make us look good. But, like, the fact is, like, sure, the 4 or 5 years of World War II, we came together against a common enemy, and we did what we could, whether it's 1 million people came in and fought, or whether it was like 50,000 super, like, super dedicated resistors.
You know what it is?
Whatever it was, we fucked with them, and that was the biggest thing.
But I think there's a lot of things that go into one. I feel like they definitely fought harder in the sense of, not that people who died for the other countries didn't fight hard enough, but the Greeks suffered a lot more losses per capita than other countries. And part of
I hear you, bro.
Part of that is them just not being willing to lay down and be like, all right, you're in charge. A lot of them were like, no, you're fucking not. And if we die, then we die.
Right.
Like,
Again,
that's
like, the per capita thing, totally, I get it. But like, also, like, there were 6 million Jews that were eradicated, right? So in terms of per capita, I think they win probably.
Yeah, but Jews is simply a religion. It's not a country's.
No, I know, but in terms of like a population of certain, like a nationality of people, I mean, they're technically a nationality. They're looked at as, which is crazy to me, right? It shouldn't really be looked at as like, because they're just a different religion, like they're different.
That's all they are.
You know?
No, but it's not a matter of different. What I'm saying though is like the 6 million Jews that were killed, they weren't all from one country.
No,
they were being rounded up across Europe. Like,
it was
there was Jewish communities in Greece that were rounded up.
Yeah, everybody.
Right, that's what I'm saying. But like that's why like you can't really look at it that way because like everybody and the reality is the amount of Jewish people in Greece who were rounded up probably far smaller than the amount of Jewish people in countries like Poland,
even in Germany,
or even in Germany. Right, exactly. So what I'm saying is like when you're looking at the sacrifice that different countries had, Greece definitely sacrificed more, and part of it is because, like I said, if the more you resist, the bloodier it's going to get, the more violence it's going to get, the more Germany is going to, because listen, I'm sure Germany would like to walk into or roll into a country, everybody be like, okay, we're not going to fight you guys, and they won't kill anybody. They don't care. That's not the point. They don't need because they don't want to waste their shit on regular citizens who aren't going to beat them up.
Yeah, you don't want to waste it on blood, like their blood and gold.
You're just trying to you're trying to conquer, basically.
Yeah, so some of the other big sabotage events, the biggest one was the Asposos Viaduct, second of the 3 viaducts supporting the rail line in Greece. This one was like the big one. I think this was like one of the main ones. It was a 200-yard long cantilever bridge that soared some 200 feet above the raging Asposos River. The viaduct was passed over as a target in 1942 because of lack of accessibility. The 2 main approaches involved traveling through train tunnels, which were impossible for either the commandos or the guerrillas to traverse without being spotted. The third approach was from the east across open terrain and was quickly ruled out. The guerrillas estimated they would need 1,000 men and heavy weapons to attack from this direction. The final approach from the west was through a near vertical gorge that was considered impossible to navigate. Additionally, the viaduct had a garrison of 40 German soldiers in strong defensive positions with heavy machine guns and searchlights. Germans were better trained and less likely than the Italians to panic if attacked. This guy's going in on the fucking eye-ties hard, bro. All of this was Asposos Viaduct. All of this made Asposos Viaduct seem impregnable. And of course, famous Braun says, "Give me 10 good men and some climbing spikes, and I'll impregnate the bitch" from Game of Thrones.
Yes, of course.
The British, however, disagreed with the Greek assessment that the western approach of to Asposos was unnavigable. In late May, conducted a successful reconnaissance of the viaduct. On May 23, 1943, 6 British commandos made their first attempt to fully navigate the western gorge and sabotage Asposos. After 2 days of navigating the gorge, they were forced to turn back when they ran out of rope, and were unable to descend a waterfall. They stashed their explosives in the gorge and returned to camp bruised and battered from the gorge. I'm engorged right now. No additional rope was available in the local area. What? They ran out of rope, these fucking guys. The commandos used 340 feet in the initial attempt.
Is that even
the
a lot of
operation
rope?
had to be postponed.
I don't know what a lot of rope is versus a little rope.
That's so funny. And the operation had to be postponed until more rope could be flown in from Egypt. What a weird fucking... All right, they needed more rope. All right, you go to fucking Home Depot, get some fucking rope, for fuck's sake. That's a joke. Oh, when did they blow this fucking thing up? I don't want to keep reading this.
After they got the rope.
There we go. We're cooking right here. The commandos arrived at the viaduct on June 19th when they had more rope and realized that the German maintenance crew had erected scaffolding and cut a path through the barbed wire at the base of the viaduct. That's a nice little lucky turn of events. Yeah. These changes were hugely beneficial to the saboteurs, who now had direct access to the viaduct's main pier. I think all the planning and all the fucking training and everything can go to shit or work out if you just get a little lucky.
Yes. Luck is very
crazy.
Important.
As night fell on the 20th of June, the commandos began placing their charges. Charge placement took 90 minutes. At one point, a German guard patrol past the saboteurs. Fearing discovery, a British commando jumped out of the bush, knocked the German guy unconscious, and threw him off the cliff into the Asposos River. Jesus, bro. Wow, that's intense. This guy just knocked him out and just tossed him off the river. All right, cool, man. Whatever, Once the charges were set, the commandos lit 90-minute fuses and beat a hasty withdrawal up the gorge. At approximately 2 a.m., the Esposos Viaduct exploded. See ya.
The entire central span of the bridge and both cantilevers collapsed into the gorge.
Yeah, that's pretty much does it, right? I feel like that fucks the bridge
that'll
up.
Do it.
Yeah.
That's
building bridges, baby.
The main part of the bridge is the bridge. So
literally burning bridges. Oh, man. That's awesome. What happened here? Strategic result of the supposed sabotage was unexpected and profound. The German command in Greece was so convinced of the impregnability of Asposos that they believed the destruction was due to treachery. They condemned the entire German garrison to death, promptly shooting the commanding officer and several men. Yikes. Bummer. So that totally fucked up the entire logistics operation in Greece for the Axis powers. And this was a catalyst to more sabotage throughout Greece with the help of British and now American commandos, the OSS and the OSE. And the cool thing was, because as we know and we said before, Greeks love to fight each other. Me and Minivan were about to fight each other right now.
That's right. We might fight right afterwards.
Spitting out this Greek propaganda. But it's fine. So, like, a ton of these, like the EAS, which was, like, the Greek Liberation Army, that was a bit of a lefty commie. It was a communist organization. They were, like, the main guys who went up against. And I'm sure I would not be surprised if, like, the Soviet Union, like, supported them, too. And, like, we're just not reading it because it's American-washed.
I like that Panathinaikos was part of the...
Yeah, PAO, which was... I think it was started by a Greek officer, I think, in northern... this is a northern Greek
I don't see any
resistance.
that side. I'm just pointing that out.
So EDES was the National Republican Greek League, which was started. I think they were more like centrist.
That's almost as Greek as the Adults Only Fantasy
League. Yeah. And EKKA, a National Social Liberation, was a Greek resistance movement during the Axis occupation. It was founded in autumn 1942 by Colonel Dimitrios Psaros and politician Georgios Kartalis. So all these fucking jamokes, and like these guys, like I feel like the guys who start the resistance that are, you know, this like weird like officers of the Greek army are just ends up trying to be like, okay, now I want to be the fucking dictator of this country, you know, like now that the Krauts and the fucking Itais are gone, like I want to run this shit, and that's literally what happened. Right
My turn.
Yeah, right after World War II ended or started ending, and like people started, like the Germans and Italians started moving. Oh well, Germans more.
Well, we had a monarchy until we weren't there, obviously, but the Greeks had a monarchy.
Yeah, the King George. But I think it was always. I mean, we'll get into that later.
King George?
Yeah, King George II was the guy who was running it right here.
Who was the last monarch of Greece? It was the dude from...
Well, the guy, it was the prince of it.
Prince, right?
Was the guy who just died. Prince Philip was...
Well, no, he wasn't the one running it, though. Right?
He was a kid. He was a kid when this went down.
I forgot who the last monarch of Greece was. It was on Jeopardy last night. No, it wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. But, you know, Greece is mired in fucking civil war.
Civil wars.
Constantly, all the time.
But,
of like...
For this 5-6 year stretch, they put it aside.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way they should have done it. And it's so interesting, bro, because once I was reading this, I'm going to say it again, like, it's so crazy how, like, the parallels to Afghanistan and, like, how Afghanistan is now, which is largely underdeveloped.
Right.
And, like, all these tribal fucking, you know, these Korea and these villages that, like, haven't met other people, the people that they do know that are in their, like, vicinity. There are these, like, blood feuds and shit like that, that, like, that's all that really matters. And, like, the honor of the family really matters. Like, so medieval. It's wild.
It's true. I mean, yeah, it's he's the last king of the Hellenes, I guess. I hate reading Greek words in English, like trying to read it. Was Constantine II.
What year?
Well, the monarchy was abolished in June of 73, which is kind of crazy to think about it. Like,
yeah, it was abolished, but like there was a military junta from 60 to 67.
Right. Yeah. But I'm saying like just thinking that like Greece had a monarchy like not that long before we were born.
This past century. Well, in
the last 50 years. Right.
What do you call it? The 19th, 20th century?
The 20th century.
Yeah, and bro, I actually, like the military junta, there was a guy who was like one of the main generals, like Cubaro, was like my grandfather, like my was it my great grandfather or like my great grand uncle was like his cubano, like was one of the generals.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Crazy, bro. Yeah, and he actually, with a scumbag, he fucking during when the Nazis occupied Greece, he was part of like the Hellenic state that they propped up basically, and he was like part of like going up against the resistance and like trying to find resistors and shit like that for the Nazis. That rat fuck. And somehow, some way, he made his fucking way out and like became, he built his, he he went pretty deep in terms of like he became a general in the army.
You know what? I always some timelines, so like for history wise and stuff like that. Always just like I remember the Ottoman Empire.
Yeah.
Before, all right, so the Cubs won the World Series like 5 years ago, right? 4 years ago. Before that, the Cubs had won a World Series when the Ottoman Empire was still the Ottoman Empire.
That's crazy,
right? Like you think
that's
about
wild.
like
How it
the
intersects.
overlap of history sometimes.
60,000 Jews were deported from Greece.
60,000 Jews deported from Greece. Wow.
From where a small number survived. Jesus Christ. And Greece during this time, we need to, I think, add is during 41 and 42, there was a huge famine, and that really fucked it. Like tens of thousands of people died. Like their mortality rate skyrocketed. Despite some of the left-wing resistance claim that the government, despite that some in the left-wing resistance claim the government to be illegitimate on account of its roots in the dictatorship of Ioannis Metaxas. So there was a dictator in Greece before, from 1936 to 41.
Well, that's Metaxas. That was the guy who was.
So what? This guy King George was basically like a fucking puppet, or not a puppet, but he was like a constitutional monarch, like not really ruling. Like how a British monarch is?
I guess.
Because if you got this fucking guy just dictating shit, like there's no way he's just listening to to King George as he says bullshit. So like the British greatly encouraged the king to appoint centrist moderate ministers. Only 2 of his ministers were members of the dictatorial government that had governed Greece before the German invasion. So maybe, he just, like, he picks who's, or, like, because, like, in Britain, technically, like, it's still the Queen's, but, like, in the voting, picks the Prime Minister, and she tells the Prime Minister, you need to represent me in this government. Right? So maybe it's, like, similar to that, how they did it. And then this guy just took over and was like, fuck off, I'm doing whatever I want to do. Sit in your fucking palace and shut the fuck up about it. You know?
Yeah.
Eat your fucking souvlaki and zip it. So anyway, that's Dirtbag history. You have anything else to add in closing?
I don't like your anti-Greek propaganda.
No, listen, I just don't like. I'm Greek. I love being Greek. I'm Spartan too, kid. You know what I mean?
I'm wearing a Spartan hat.
You started talking about fucking what's his fucking the 300 Spartans. I definitely blood flow started happening. I chopped up a little bit. But again, let's always take the goose and take the gander. Or what do they fucking say? I don't know what they say.
Oh well, I mean, like Greeks aren't perfect. Far from it. Absolutely not.
No one's perfect.
No, of course, right. But Greeks in particular are not perfect. We're very
because, like, remember we mentioned before about like how the Brits broke the German Enigma code.
Yes, very important.
Alan Turing, amazing mind. The Turing machine was basically the first big time computer.
Absolutely.
Right? Guy was a gay guy, and he got caught, I guess, trying to get a hand job from another guy after the war, after he did these amazing things for the Allies and for the world in helping defeat the Nazis, right? Like you got to admit, like maybe some of the things that he brought to the table were probably some of the biggest turning points in the war.
Absolutely.
Right? So he got caught, got arrested for trying to, fuck some dudes or whatever. And what they ended up doing to him, because back then the fucking laws against homosexuality was so hardcore, they chemically castrated him, meaning they didn't cut his cock off, but they gave him medicine to like totally kill your libido and stuff like that, and he ended up killing himself. And years later, after we woke up and it's like it's okay to fuck your same sex, it's not a big deal.
It's been okay in Greece for centuries.
It's like our MO. They ended up like knighting him and like restoring, like giving him the proper shit. But I mean, literally ruined his fucking life. So you see, like there's two sides to every coin.
Of course, you know what it is with stuff like that though. Like, all right, Yeah, the people who were in charge and did it to him, awful.
Yeah.
But, you know, when people say, like, oh, it's too little too late. Well, the thing is that, like, all right, these people weren't involved with that.
I don't think it's too little too late.
Right, no, I'm saying, but some people will argue, like, oh, it's too little too late, like what you did. I get it. It's terrible what he did today. But the people who are trying to correct that wrong now weren't involved in the wrong there. They're just trying to be better. You know, like, at the end of the day, like, we all should just try to.
Yeah, I think it's good to, like,
better. Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Acknowledge it.
Acknowledge
Right,
things that,
yeah.
I think it's good to acknowledge things of people that might have had it taken away for, you know, other reasons.
Yeah,
you know.
skin color, religion,
right,
whatever.
yeah. And, like,
sexual orientation.
The other thing that, like, I mean, you know, it's, I feel like when somebody does something bad, wrong, frowned upon, whatever the case is like, it turns everything he's ever done into, like, you can't, it's not good, you can't listen to it, you can't view it, you can't like, all right, like R. Kelly, right? I don't really care for R. Kelly either way, like, he's fine, whatever. Like, if I never listen to an R. Kelly song ever again, my life's not going to change, like, I don't really care. But, like, I know that after all the stuff that he did, which is horrible, you know, like, if the stuff that he did was true, which does seem like it was, it's horrible. Like, after all the stuff he did, people were like, oh, well, you got to cancel R. Kelly and don't ever listen to songs again and this and that. And I'm like, I mean, you know, you can compartmentalize things in your life too, you know, on the points of, like, all right, if you don't want to support R. Kelly, I mean, I guess you could do that, but, like, who are you to tell somebody else, like, oh, you can't listen to R. Kelly because
I mean, I think that speaks to a different thing, right? Because, like, what R. Kelly did is way
horrible.
worse.
Yeah, I'm not defending
than
it.
like Turing did, obviously. And
no, right, I'm talking on a different level.
Okay.
Obviously, it's not the same thing.
Yeah, because, like,
I'm not comparing R. Kelly's music to what this
like,
guy did.
if we shot R. Kelly into space, like, I don't care.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't. I don't really care.
Also, like, to the point where you're supporting R. Kelly, if you're still going to, like, he's not doing concerts, but let's say you're still going to his concerts and paying that and, like, paying for tickets, and you hear a fucking song come on the radio, what are you going to do, turn it off? And
like drive your car off a cliff because, like, R. Kelly's song, I mean, he's not going to be on the radio anymore anyway, but, like, if he's on your iPod that you dusted off.
What are you going to do?
Okay,
you fucking click next, and that's the end of it. What are you going to do?
Or if you want to listen to fucking listen to it.
Right, that too.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, like, I think people get a little out of control with, like, trying to, like, cancel everybody too. Like, I'm not into the whole, like, oh, we got to cancel this, we got to cancel that, you got to stop doing this, you got to stop doing that. Like, all right, like.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, obviously.
It is. Listen, there's certain things that I'm not opposed to being canceled, obviously. Like, you know, there's things that deserve it, but I feel like it does become a slippery slope.
Let me ask you this. I saw this headline. I didn't read it, but the headline said, remember the DC sniper?
Yes. John Muhammad.
The son. Wasn't there two of them? Father and son?
It was either a father and son, or
I think it was
an
the
older
son.
guy and a younger guy.
The younger guy.
Yeah, the young guy.
Supposedly, he's been hired to narrate a documentary about the DC sniper, what went down, the events.
Really?
So, like, a guy like that who literally killed people, I don't think he should be able to benefit. I don't think he should be able to get paid to do it.
You're technically not allowed to benefit from your crime.
Right, so I don't know what's going on. I saw just the headline, but something like that.
Here's the thing, though. One, he may not be getting paid.
But let's say R. Kelly. He fucked underage girls and whatever he did, sex slaves, whatever the fuck he was crazy shit he was doing.
Shit, peeing on girls.
If he's like Harvey Weinstein, rape, like, if they're guilty of this shit and they have their due process, they go to court, they're found guilty, like they go through the right fucking channels, do they deserve to make millions or hundreds of thousands of dollars?
Well, all right, so I'll give you an example that always seems to come up for me. Obviously, I'm big on football. Michael Vick. You know, I love dogs. I have my own dog.
Yeah.
I love pretty much every dog. I think dogs are awesome, and I can't really fathom how somebody would ever do the things that he did to dogs.
Totally.
At the same time, I also know that he grew up in a culture where that was a lot more acceptable. It was promoted. It was part of the culture that they have. It's not an excuse. I'm not making an excuse, but I also know that a lot of people, most people, are products of their environment. You know, like, and you know, there's obviously ways to vary from it and think differently in whatever cases, but a lot of people grow up and really are products of their environment. They're products of the things that they see, they do, that become a part of their life, and they think that it's okay, you know. So, listen, what he did was terrible, you know, and I don't advocate for him.
Yeah, but he went to jail for it.
But, so that's the thing I was going to say. Like, for what he did, if you really, really think about it, he lost more in committing that crime than any person who's ever hosted dogfighting. Because think about it. He was in jail for 2
millions.
years. He went from being worth, he had $100 million contract. He went from that to being literally broke. Like, they took everything from that guy. And I'm not even upset about it. Listen, you committed your crime,
Right.
you get punished. These are these are the repercussions of your actions. But afterwards,
He came back and
he
played.
came back, he played. But my thing is like, okay, the one thing that always drives me crazy, you know, in terms of people going to prison and stuff like that, is once they get out of prison, people still want to be like, oh, well, he murdered somebody. And listen, all that stuff is bad. But the thing is that if you're going to treat people who get out of prison as if they're escaped from prison and not served their time and got out, then don't let people out of prison anymore.
Right.
Like, once you commit a crime, tell them you're in prison forever, and that's it.
Also,
because there's no purpose in them getting out if we're going to treat them like they're still criminals.
Yeah, right.
You know,
They
like,
did their time
yeah,
for
like,
it.
I don't understand.
I think what I think people need to focus on more is in prison, what do they do to rehab themselves?
To rehab them, right. Because the point of
Because,
the point
like,
of
if
prison,
Vic came out, Vic seemed relatively...
I think he was generally remorseful.
That's what I mean.
Right,
Like, he felt
agree.
bad about
I think
it.
he was. Maybe he put on a good show or something. But I think he generally
But I think
realized,
somebody deserves a second chance.
because that's the thing. Like, listen, people do things and they don't understand why, and they, you know, I think he was genuinely remorseful for what he did. Now, the one thing that I got a little antsy on was he did speak about wanting to own a dog again.
Sure.
And from that point
Right,
of view,
that's tricky.
I completely understand people's reservations on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I could say to myself, well, I'm not saying you can't ever be around a dog again. If it's somebody else, somebody has a dog, whatever the case, fine. But I'm not sure. I think at the very least, it's fair to argue that you forfeited your right to be a dog owner. Which I think, you know, and like the thing that bothers me about dogs is that, like, I think people who are very responsible with them get dogs all the time and they don't take care of them.
Yeah,
You know,
no.
like, and the thing is, what I can never understand is, I know plenty of people who love dogs, but I also know people who are like, hey, dogs are cool.
Yeah.
You know, you have one. She's nice. I like petting her. I don't want a dog in my house. I don't have to take care of a dog. But those people won't go out and buy a dog. And I have no problem with that. I respect those people because they know that the limitations are, well, I'll come over, I'll pet your dog, you know, she's a nice dog, it's cool, but I don't want to have a dog in my house. I don't have to be responsible for a dog. It's a big responsibility. So I have a bigger issue with people who, you know, take on a dog not willing to do the responsibilities than they do for people who, you know, don't want to take on a dog.
Sure.
You know, so, you know, when it comes to stuff like that, like, it is a privilege.
So a guy like R. Kelly goes to jail for 10 years. Can he come out and, like, have a... I don't know. Is he rehabbed?
Listen, here's my thing. If he goes to jail for 10 years, whatever.
Somebody like, also, like, it's so nuanced and interesting. Like, somebody like R. Kelly's... this has been a... It's like a serial thing. Like, we've been hearing about R. Kelly for 15
absolutely.
fucking years. Guy like Harvey Weinstein.
Right.
Let's say he was younger, because he's gonna die in jail. He got 20 years or whatever. Let's say he was younger, he got less years. He's a piece of shit. Like, what happens then?
I'll be honest with you. You know what the difference is to me about Harvey Weinstein, R. Kelly? Okay. What was Harvey Weinstein's skill? His talent.
Yeah, bro. Again, talent. Like, yeah, I know. I get it.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, R. Kelly can hit fucking notes, I guess. Like,
R. Kelly can sing.
Yeah,
R. Kelly can sing.
deal.
He's a songwriter, whatever.
I don't care. I mean, listen, it doesn't matter. I mean, all right, Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby.
No, right. That's what I'm saying, though. Like, R. Kelly can sing.
Like, I don't care. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter if you have a tangible skill or not. Like, that doesn't mean shit.
Well, I mean, no. What I mean by that,
because, like, think of it, if we break it down even more, like, all right, we look at that skill as something that should be admired and blah, blah, blah in our society.
Oh, no. I don't think you get my angle.
Okay, go ahead.
So my angle, like, on Weinstein, right, is like, should he be allowed to come back and do what? What did he do? Like, what is your producer? You think he was
finance
producing
films.
Like, finance films. Okay, honestly.
Bro, listen, even up to, like, 4 or 5 years before this whole thing blew up, he was fucking... His movies were leading in Oscars.
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
but what I'm saying is, like, you think those are because of his, I don't know, remarkable eye for talent, and I mean, you think a lot of them had to do with him? I'm asking you. I'm not.
Listen,
not
I think a lot of it had to do with, like, the culture that company had.
Okay.
Not the culture in terms of, like, working and stuff, but like in the office. But I mean the culture of, like, yeah, like, they gave shots to filmmakers and stuff that
worked out.
Yeah, and, like, it was just
that's
they did shit that other places didn't do.
So my thing is like, okay, should he have a right to do it? Personally,
nah.
Yeah, no.
I don't even think R. Kelly should. Like, if you
I'll say he reserves a right to do it. However, does anybody have to listen to R. Kelly or buy a single album he makes? No, they don't.
Sure.
And that honestly becomes the issue for those people. Can they technically still do it? Yes, they can. Is somebody willing to write checks to these people to do it?
Right.
I don't think people are, and that's why.
Yeah, I agree.
They lose. So like my thing is like, if R. Kelly comes out right and he says I want to make an album, I'm not going to stand in his way and say, well, not that I'm anybody to stand in his way, but I wouldn't stand in his way and say, well, you can't make an album. I would say to himself, okay, shop your services. If somebody's willing to pay you to make an album,
yeah, I'm not going to
stop. Then somebody should pay it. Yeah, right. And honestly, I don't think anybody would. I don't.
Yeah, but nowadays, who knows? Like, he could probably like self-publish and like still have fans.
Sure, and you know what? And if he could do that and self-publish and put himself on his own platform and do it, sure. But Spotify shouldn't be required to.
Sure, like albums. Like you're talking.
The
like
radio
big
shouldn't
money.
be required to. And my thing is like, and you know what? Nobody's stopping you. But nobody's required to give you a platform to do it either.
Right.
So, like, and the platform is what you lost by doing what you did. That's your problem.
Yeah.
Though.
Like, listen, bro, I don't know. Like, it's tough because, like, even Michael Jackson, right? Like,
yeah.
Whether he did it or not, he obviously was innocent in that one trial, but you don't pay people $30 million because you're fucking innocent in civil lawsuits. Let's be fucking real.
Right, yeah, I know.
Okay? So that's
I have a hard time believing Michael Jackson didn't ever do anything inappropriate.
Sure, yeah, because he's a fucking freakazoid.
Let's just be honest.
Yeah. Like, so that's like the tricky part.
Amazing entertainer.
And that's crazy to me is we put these fucking people on such pedestals.
Right, yeah, I know.
Bro, even like Harvey Weinstein, bro. Everybody was like, when Meryl Streep won her Oscar, all these people were like, oh, I love Harvey Weinstein. And you're telling me it was the biggest fucking secret in Hollywood that everybody knew about.
Yeah.
And they just kept rolling with it. All good. Because because you know, at the end of the day, people will always be self-interested.
Oh, yeah.
They don't give a fuck. Even these libtard fucking, and I'm a libtard, even these fucking lib Hollywood people, you know, who are like, save the children, wear your corona mask. Mm-hmm. They didn't give a fuck when Harvey Weinstein was fucking trying to, you know, fuck these girls.
Yeah, I mean, you know what's funny? I've spoken with, so like Harvey Weinstein seems to be a lot, not that he's popular with anybody, but women in particular seem to take issue with Harvey Weinstein and stuff. And like, I've also talked to women that I know in my life, women that I've worked with in the past, whatever the case is, like, and they're basically saying like, okay, here's the thing with what happened with him. Now look, if he forces himself on anybody, if he grabs it, okay, that's
sure,
you know, but like to me, there's a big gray area in some of the stuff that he was doing too. That like, how do I put it? Like, okay, he was, I guess, sort of blackmailing. Sort of.
Listen, I'm sure some of these girls were like, all right, listen, I got to suck this ogre's dick and he's going to put me in a fucking movie.
Right. And honestly.
And I'm okay with that.
Right, okay.
Which is fine.
Right. And I'll be honest with you. I think a lot of that happened.
Yeah.
And those girls never came.
Without question.
But, right. And my thing is like, am I okay with it? Like, in the sense of like, listen, that's not my business. It really isn't. Like,
listen, something like that where the woman is like, yeah, okay, I'm fine. I know what I'm getting myself into, and it's gross, and I'm still gonna do it because I want to have an opportunity to like push my brand. And like, that's fine. That's two consenting adults doing something. That's fine.
Right.
But the one where he's like pushing on a girl and all that,
100% wrong. Yeah, without question. Yeah. But like, listen, here's my thing. Basically, essentially, like Harvey Weinstein is not gonna be the last guy who ever used his power as a way to bed women.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Like, and honestly, Harvey Weinstein's not going to be the reason it stops.
It's never going to stop.
It's never going to, like, and my thing is, essentially what's going to happen is, like, listen, nobody's going to actually say it. I'm not going to tell you, you have to sleep with me or you won't get this job. But you will somehow know that if you sleep with me,
right, yeah,
your chances of getting this position is...
Yeah, I think now it's probably become a bit more like a bit more hairy of a situation for guys to like kind of like hint that or something like that. Like you need to be extremely subtle.
Oh yeah. At this point, it's become an art form. Like, you have to be like,
So,
and I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying, like,
which I think in terms of number wise, it'll probably lower the number of like women getting sexually harassed, and I'm sure there's a small number of guys too that same thing happens.
It definitely happens to guys. Yeah.
Like I think that helps deter people. Like the worry of being outed and like and losing your career and stuff like that. Because unless you're Harvey Weinstein, who has like an army of lawyers or an army of fucking private investigator, former Israeli fucking spies, like to like, you know, get shit on you, get dirt on the people that are suing you.
Right, yeah.
Or an unlimited amount of money to like the Fox News guys like Bill O'Reilly paying $32 million to like producers. What do you, bro, 32 mil? What did you do to this girl?
I know.
So like, if it's like some middle management god guy who thinks he's like the shit, like that guy's going to be scared because that guy's looking for the next rung on the ladder. He's looking for the next promotion and shit. And he gets one ding now, depending on the company, obviously. It's going to fuck up his career.
Yeah. So,
like, the deterrence is there, which is good, and it's higher than before, which is good also. And again, we need to, even when there's, an accusation or something, like, you need to look. You can't just automatically say, oh, this guy's fucked up. Like,
Oh, yeah. That's another thing.
Everything's so nuanced that, like...
I feel like everybody gets, like, the second somebody's accused, they're guilty. And, like, that's terrible to me. Because it's like, listen.
Yeah.
The people who are guilty of this shit, I hope all of them go to prison to get in trouble, lose their jobs, lose their privileges, lose their responsibilities, all that stuff. But, like, it's come to the point where, like, the second somebody gets a finger pointed at them, their life is over, basically.
Right.
And I'm kind of glad that I think he sort of, I guess, waded the waters a little bit. But remember the Aziz Ansari thing?
Yeah. Yeah, that one was crazy. I think anybody who's a logical brain reads about the account.
Like, he had a bad date. Like, it was kind of misconnected. Like, you know what's crazy about that? That probably happens every single night.
100%.
And 99% of the time, women don't think that they were, like, sexually assaulted.
Right.
But, like, this one woman did, like... Because, like, a lot of times... And you know what the craziest part is? It goes back to the beginning of what I said. Communication. Like, you both weren't on the same page of what you guys wanted out of that encounter. He thought you wanted one thing. You thought he knew that you wanted the other.
Yeah.
But instead of you telling him that, that was what the case was, you kind of didn't. And, like... And that was... Like, I don't know if you ever heard... one of my favorite Louis C.K., who's another person who basically, like... He jerked off before the girl.
Yeah, listen, I mean, the Louis C.K. shit, he's a fucking creeper.
He is creepy. I can see him being creepy.
Right.
Like, I don't think he's a sexual predator. Like, in the sense of, like...
it's not like he fucking, like, locked the door.
Right, So, look, whatever. I actually like Louis C.K. I've always been a big fan, but one of the funniest things he ever did...
I'm still a fan of him.
I'm still a fan of him. One of the funniest things he ever said about was he had gone out one night and he had met some girl at a club or whatever, some waitress or whatever it was. And he said, like, they went back to his room and, they were, whatever, making out and, feeling each other up, whatever, the usual stuff, the stuff you were doing. And,
hell yeah.
And at one point, she goes to him, like, he starts, like, trying to, like, I guess, like, remove her bra or whatever, or something like that. And she slaps his hand away.
Okay.
So he's like, okay. And, like, they go back to start making out. And, like, he goes again. And, she, like, slaps his hand away again.
Yeah.
So he's like, all right, I'm going to take this. Like, but they're still making out. So it's, like, weird. So he's like, all right, I'm going to take the hint. I'm not going to pursue this anymore. Okay. So afterwards, I guess he was doing, like, I don't know, like a set, like the weekend thing, whatever.
Sure.
Kind of like, so he was there for a couple nights. So
he
sees her the next night or whatever. And he's like, basically like, oh, hey, what's going on? She's like, hey, what happened to us last night? He's like, he goes, what happened? Like, I wanted to have sex. I was into it. He goes, you didn't? He goes, so I stopped. And she goes, oh, no, I was into it. He's like, you kept slapping my hand away. And she's like, oh, she goes, well, yeah, I just wanted you to, like, just to go for it. Not to, like, feel around. And he's like, I'm not gonna rape you on the off chance that, like, oh, maybe she's into this,
That's
funny. Like, this, like, he's like, I'm not gonna roll the dice on that. Like, are you crazy? But, I mean, that's the thing, like...
Yeah, communication is key, bro.
Communication is key.
Yeah, at that point, that situation, he definitely did the right thing. Like, the time where, like, he walks into a hotel room with two other girl comics, and he whips out his dick and starts beating it. Like, that, you read the signs a little bit better, cuz, you know what I mean? Like...
Yeah, right, yeah, I know, for sure. It sucks to...
But again, that, like, on the spectrum of fucking deviancy...
Oh, yeah, I mean, like, Harvey Weinstein's not
or, like,
come on,
or like, Cosby or whoever else.
Not because I really want to, like, categorize people who are, like, doing this kind of stuff. Like, hey, just don't do this stuff. It's a lot easier. But
Like I'm not like super aggro, kind of like go after and like kind of push ish. I'm not like that unless I know.
Of course.
They're in.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
We need a mutually beneficial, like a signal, a fucking, I don't know, something in writing. I need something to say, okay, you're a dirtbag like I am. Got it. Sweet. Awesome. We're simpatico like that. You know what I mean? I need that. I can't just do crazy shit to do crazy shit.
Okay, so here's the thing. Like, I think the only time that can work is like, all right, so me and Melissa have been together for going on 12 years now. You have a flow. You know, you kind of have
right.
So, like, if I start pushing the limits a little bit, I know that I can get away with certain stuff without her being like, oh, you know, like...
Yeah, she's not going to go around screaming rape.
Right. And if it gets to a point where she's uncomfortable or whatever the case is, then, you know, it's a little different. I'm thinking of something else the other day. I got to see if I can find it because it was on TikTok and this shit cracked me up because it was like basically like this girl, black girl, was on TikTok. She posted it, and she was like, I told my boyfriend that I'm into. I'm trying to think what exact term she used, but it was basically like, I guess like degradation.
Okay.
Like.
Yeah, like degrading.
She's black. So she mentions that her boyfriend is white.
Okay.
So she's like, I'm into like, you know, like whatever, being the I forgot the exact term. I gotta find it. But it was like degradation or humiliation, like whatever. And she goes, basically like, tell me why he just started like you like being racist like right off the bat, and it's so weird because it's like, you know, listen.
Yeah, he starts calling her the N-word and stuff.
She didn't get into this. She just said he started being racist. But like, okay, here I found. Hold on a second. I'll play because degrading king.
You gonna make me fucking edit this in?
No, you can just tell me.
Well, she said step on the gas, right? You gotta find out
Well, she
where
was saying
it's
step
at.
on the gas, and he's like step on the gas. He's like racial epithet. She's like, oh my god, no, not that. But again, communication, right?
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
although
that's what it comes down to.
To be fair, if I was a white guy and had a black girlfriend, I probably wouldn't have just jumped right into the N-bombs.
Yeah, no.
I probably would have started with like...
You need to weight those waters
carefully. You filthy slut or something.
No, that's the stuff you start off
That's the stuff
with.
that she was probably asking for and did not get.
Right, yeah, if you drop an N-word right out the gate, you need to like kind of fucking fine-tune your craft a little,
my god, yeah.
You know? Yeah, anyway, that's the Greek resistance in World War II, guys.
Step on the gas.
Yeah, all gas, no brakes.
All gas, no brakes. Thanks for joining us.
Do I tell what else? That's it, right?
That's it.
Bye.
Bye.